Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Download Youth Ministry web show, episode 258.
Wow.
And if you watched episode 257, you'll think, man, those guys did not change clothes over the entire week. That's exactly right.
You're probably listening on just your headphones, so you're fine. We sound like a different episode.
Yeah. Anyway, Doug Fields here with Cathy, Jean Fields, the greatest wife in the world of 30 years.
Thank you.
And the most amazing
Almost
person.
30.
Almost 30.
Yeah, let's not get out of it.
Josh Griffin, who is the host, the co-host,
That's
and Matthew McGill.
Special guest
Matthew McGill, all the way from Pismo Beach.
This is like a reunion show
Central
right now, having Matt here.
Wow. Look at Matt missed one show. We sent him on his way, and he's been back for the last two. Anyway,
making up for it.
send your questions to webshow@downloadyouthministry.com. We're grateful, as always, to Youth Specialties.
More shows when I had lunch plans.
It's our primary sponsor. We love Youth Specialties, and by the time this one airs, we'll be in Atlanta probably.
We'll be doing a live show with the Skit Guys.
Do you want me on a live show? Is that what you're asking
That's
right now?
a great idea for you. This is awkward.
Will you be there?
Yeah.
I mean, no, be there in the room is what I'm asking.
Always am.
That's more than Matt can say.
That's right. We're doing a live show at Youth Specialties, the National Youth Works Convention, and with Skit Guys. Will be very, very fun.
Oh, they're going to be on the show?
Uh-huh.
That's great.
Yeah.
They're not
so
usually
fun.
doing their own deal at
We're
that
going to
time?
combo it. We're going to do a short podcast with them. Then we're going to... We're kind of the opening act.
Talk about short podcasts. I think you guys are selling yourself short.
Well, I think because we lost all of our content when we lost you, we don't know what to do now. We're hopeless.
Just open these books and start reading stuff. That'll get your content that way.
That'll get your Matt McGill content.
That'll get our audience too. So anyway, we love our co-sponsors, Azusa Pacific University. If you want to get a master's in youth ministry, apu.edu.
You might not be able to see those behind me.
Leadertrex.org, our favorite organization, part of our monthly membership. Part of our student leadership conference, part of what...
What does that mean, your favorite organization?
I love
because they're
Leader
all
Tracks.
Organizations. So
I know,
better than APU and Youth Ministry 360
Yep.
and YS.
Wow.
Yep.
They're your
There you
favorite.
go.
Yep.
There you go. Just keeping it real.
Yep.
Real
That's
talk.
because they gave you a sweet jacket?
No, they did give a sweet jacket,
I
but
know.
Leader Tracks,
They
they're
did.
they're part of our membership.
Yeah,
They provide a student leadership
Just trying to get
program
for
as part of our membership. So
they have a great retreat for just youth pastors
called
too.
Refuel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do awesome mission trips all over the country.
Yeah. Youth Ministry 360 ships for free and gives all DYM members 10% off. All you have to do is use the code free shipping, or if you forget that, DYM10, because that's much more memorable.
There you go. Do it.
On our table is this book right here called Next, Growing a Faith That Lasts.
True story. We ended up buying those for our ministry, and we're going to do a new class for our new believers. This is like a 4-week devotional, and we're going to do a next class for people who are like looking to grow in their faith. So this spring we're using both those resources in our youth ministry, and I'm stoked about it. So
wow,
I will report live.
You left behind 102, 201, 301, and now you're replacing it with something else.
Absolutely.
And your small groups are doing this?
It'll be like a weekend class type of thing.
Okay.
Hey, Kath, should we put Josh on the spot now and talk about, since you were a volunteer under his ministry for the last 4 years, how did he treat you?
It's embarrassing to talk about.
It's
really?
Trust me, I know.
What are you talking about?
He's kind of turning a little bit red.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, she was kidding.
I'm totally
I will tell you this.
No, that was serious.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, it was not? No.
Well, his response was serious.
Well, I've recently discovered a kind of a loophole in our volunteer process. We're really good at recruiting. We're really good at like assigning roles and following up, even coaching and whatever. We're not really good at saying goodbye. Like, we immediately go back to recruiting. Like, when someone leaves, we go, we got to recruit somebody. And we kind of skip that celebration, the love, the thankfulness, the whatever. So on my to-do list, this is spoiler alert, is a follow-up with leaders. This is embarrassing, but for the last 3 years, we have kind of not said goodbye very well.
It's good
We've not honored their legacy.
Yeah, I think
you
you're
among
right.
them. So please, well, you kind of among them too. But
What are you going to call it?
Yeah, but-
Youth Ministry Graveyard?
the thank you for your
Just
legacy.
like a stationery that
Rest in
says
peace.
graveyard with your name, with
Exactly,
my name
like
on
thank
it.
you, Miss
No, I
Cathy. It
think
was
that's
awesome.
great because I'm not the person that cares, but I know some people do.
Well,
to
I
be
do,
said thank
and I
you
feel
to.
like I missed it.
I think it's great. I think it's a great idea.
Awesome. Well, thank you. You'll get something from me at some point.
Thank you.
Thank you for serving
Rick
our
called
students.
you after you left, right?
Yeah, every time he wants me to preach.
That's all. good to be wanted.
I know.
Hey, there's a cackle, another one for your app that we talked about last week.
Believe me, I'm happy any call when he wants me to preach there.
That's right.
Anyway, Cathy was you were a small group leader for the last 6 years for Josh's ministry.
Yes, and Josh has
leader.
well, Jessica, who's been here
It's
many
amazing.
times, right?
Yeah.
She was. I was more directly in contact with Jessica because that's her role on
She's a star.
Josh's ministry, and she's so great.
She is great.
She's so great, yeah.
This is from Bryson. Bryson says, thanks for all you do. I have a question regarding getting steady attendance. You see, I'm a full-time youth minister who lives in a small town of Clifton, Texas, population 3,400.
Nice.
We're the only what's the population of Pismo?
Wow.
I gotta find that out, but it's small.
It is not 3,400 though.
66,000.
No, those 5 cities. There's one high school. There's it's crazy.
Too bad we just if there was only a way for us to just find that information, but oh well.
Oh, let me get on my phone.
Don't pull it out. He's gonna. That's an iPad. How many?
7,861.
What 7,000? What's in Arroyo Grande?
Wait, there's only 7,000 people in
So
that
that's
In Arroyo,
twice.
in Pismo Beach.
That's crazy.
That's twice the size of this guy's Clifton, Texas. Okay, now
there we go.
we're back to
Wow.
him. He's the only
small.
other full-time youth minister is the Southern Baptist guy across the street. What is a tool that I can use?
I thought he was calling the Southern Baptist guy.
He's a tool.
When
What?
I read it, I thought the same thing. I saw Tool and Southern Baptist.
Oh, we should work together. Oh.
Oh. Brutal.
What is a tool I can use, or what can I do to make sure whoever walks through my doors on a Wednesday night is informed of what's going on with our ministry, but at the same time is attractive to them? We have a youth group Instagram account, but I'm not sure if teens are actually paying attention to it, because on any given Wednesday or Sunday, I could have anywhere from 2 to 3 to 20 if there is a sports practice party going on. Help me. Any words of wisdom?
That's good. Well,
Well, I
looking
bet
for
they are
wisdom.
paying attention to Instagram. Because
Totally.
Absolutely.
more than they are paying attention to your emails or your Facebook.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, he asked for wisdom, so Matt.
Well, I'm not sure communication is necessarily gonna. I mean, when you have a small church and you have a small community like this, when there is a big event that is happening, you're gonna feel
That
the
is
effects
news.
of that.
Yeah.
I mean, in your ministry where you have 5 major high schools, or maybe it's 6 or 4, but one school has a big event. There's still 4 others that that aren't having that event.
Absolutely.
So in a smaller community, you're just going to have bigger ebb and flow.
But we still have ebb and flow, no matter what. I mean, there are seasons and homecomings and football games. We don't go up against that stuff.
And there's even like weekly sports practice. It doesn't have to
Absolutely.
be. That's what I heard him saying too. Just even a sports practice. I mean, I know as a small group leader, which is more comparative of his ministry, my 15 could be 3 one night because there's
Something
6
going on.
cheerleaders
Yeah.
and 4 basketball players, and they're all out on the same place
Yep.
at the same time. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. I love the Instagram thing because I do think kids look at Instagram.
Absolutely.
I totally think they do.
Well, and Instagram's a little different than Facebook because Instagram shows you everybody you're following. So Facebook uses a very complicated algorithm to show you what it thinks it wants that you want to see.
Yeah.
But Instagram doesn't. It just says if you follow them, you're going to see their pictures. And so Instagram is a very, very powerful tool to get the word out, to spread the word, to even advertise your youth ministry. I'd say Instagram is where Instagram and texting are our
Yeah.
primary methods of
Well, and
communication by a
Josh,
long
you make
shot.
a great point. And with this, with Bryson, he can look at his Instagram and go, "Oh, only 4 kids liked that. I know these 5 that like to know what's going on. I could send them a little text, or all 20 kids have liked this.
Yeah.
So I can send out a group text or something and say, "Hey,
That's good.
looking forward to seeing you."
Absolutely.
Make that
That's
extra
good.
personal
Excellent.
touch
With
on
that-
top of it.
Well, that's what
with
I'm thinking.
That number,
With 20, you can make a personal touch
Totally.
throughout the week. I mean, one, if you're a DYM member, you have free group texting as a part of that.
Yeah, you can
So-
send 20 texts a week, all included, totally for free, easy. Yeah, done.
That's part of it. The Instagram, but also depending on how many volunteers you have, if we, let's say we take those 20 kids and we break them into 5 groups of 4, and every Sunday we switch 4 between. Or actually, the math would be different. If we were let's throw Parker in there. Parker's also
Yeah.
now there's 5.
Producer
Parker,
Parker.
come on in real quick.
We need the visual effect.
Would have trimmed my beard.
This is
Just block
Parker.
out now.
This is digital, Parker. He's not really here today. He's just digitally in the scene.
We have four names and phone numbers, and you're on a 3x5 card. I'm going to call.
Right.
I'm in charge of calling these. Hey, it's a new Sunday. Here, Parker. Here's my group. I'll take yours. We're gonna
Matt
call
forgot
Yeah.
his, but so now I don't have anyone to call.
No,
It's
Matt can piss
frustrating.
mine.
Very powerful.
Okay, Parker. That's enough.
Thanks,
guys.
Parker.
Thanks, guys.
Good
Great job.
Parker.
That was stunning. Great work.
I knew he was
good. It'll save him a lot of time having to put his bouncing head into the thing, so that's great.
Was that what that is?
I noticed he was a little self-conscious. He made sure his sweatshirt was all nice as he was
Ruffle
walking
this
over
up,
here. Yeah.
Combed his
Yeah.
beard
He's a
quick.
father. He's a father of about 11 kids. So
He's got to represent well.
Anyway, steady attendance. Let's put it this way: whether you have 20 kids or as many as Josh's youth ministry does, attendance is going to fluctuate based on events.
There were a couple times this fall where it was literally half of our normal fall attendance.
Wow.
So fall kickoff is like, wow, so fun and great and big. Everyone brings their friends. To literally one half as many.
Wow.
So if that's 30 to 15, you feel that, and whatever
Yeah.
the number is, half is brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
you gotta,
hang in there.
you said, on one hand, you said, you don't go up against that, and that there are some things you wouldn't, if you were going to plan a big change or something that you really wanted to have everybody on board with, you wouldn't do it at that time.
Right,
But
right.
at the same time, you don't want to go halfway.
Right.
You still need a program and still need to teach
Well,
as if they're all there.
And there are
it's-
some good opportunities thinking of that. I don't want to go up against Friday Night Football. I don't, because football in our community is ridiculously huge. But we did this fall. We did a Friday night Star Wars movie night during the football game. And you know what was interesting? A whole bunch of non-into
Totally,
football kids
Josh.
showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah.
Wasn't our biggest event, wasn't our flashiest event, but a bunch of students who were not into football had nothing to do, and they were stoked to do this. So
Yeah.
maybe go up against is not the exact right language, but just know that the ebbs and flows are
Yeah.
part of the gig.
Kathy and I went to a football game last night on
We
a
did.
Thursday.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like
How was
that.
it? Did they win?
Yeah, they won.
They did.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. You know what? One little thing that can I say? It's Bryson still. It's
Yep.
Bryson again, right?
Yep.
That Bryson. Not until I became a parent did I realize that attendance for my own high school kid. When I was that small group leader, feeling the pains of my
Yeah,
attendance
before you
is
had-
up and down. Not until I became a parent with a busy kid who had to go to practice or not get to be on the team did I start giving a little more grace and a little more empathy to the kids and the parents going, oh, they don't have a choice
Yep.
and they're doing the best they can. It's not that they don't like youth group anymore. It's that youth group isn't going to kick them out. And I want you, that's how I want youth group to be and always to be. And so I think
So sports are more important than Jesus.
That's what I heard, and I like it.
Yeah. Because
No,
you
Exactly
can
what
only
it
be
is.
with Jesus at youth group.
That's right.
Yeah.
But even
That's
as a
right.
parent of a 7th grader, starting to have a lot more empathy for parents going,
Yeah.
I'm doing everything in my power to get my son to his small group, and it is work. You know,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
3 other kids at home. There is homework and sports and activities, and it is a miracle that they end up there. And I
Yeah.
used to go like, why are these kids showing up, and what's going on, and rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, oh, I'm getting a taste, and I get it.
yeah.
And, part of it, and I think maybe we've got another question that's about comparing in numbers and stuff like that, so I'm not sure where that's going to go. But part of it is the attendance, you can't take it personal. I mean, that's it's not a reflection of who you are. And with that, you should be intentional and say, hey, this is important. You guys should show up regularly. You should be consistent, but you don't want to be desperate. You don't want to be heaping guilt. I mean, I was joking when I said obviously that Jesus and sports and all that stuff. I mean,
Right.
because if a kid is in a sport on Wednesday night, then you should figure out another way to disciple them that
Right.
fits with their schedule.
Yeah.
And does discipleship have to happen once a week? In a 1 hour time slot? Not necessarily. I mean, there's other things you can do and figure it out. But be intentional. Tell everybody, hey, you should be regular. You should come to church every week. You
Yeah.
should not give up meeting together.
I would just say this, though. It's a whole lot easier to say don't take it personally than it is to actually not take it
Sure.
personally. Especially when, like, elders or deacons or
It
senior
is.
pastors
It's
are
hard.
taking it personally.
Well, let's use that to transition into Jeremy's question. Jeremy,
Please don't use my name.
we don't know where he's from, but he did sign off for his glory.
Who's glory?
His
Jeremy's.
glory.
It's a
capital.
capital H. Okay. It's capital. So
Here is a brief history that leads to my question. I've been at my current church and first church for 7 years, full-time for 5. We have an average of 40 junior high and senior hires who come on Wednesday nights. The number of students we have is constantly being compared to the number of kids a youth pastor at our church had back in the 80s. Back then, our church had about 800 people in attendance. Now we have about 250. Some church members say that the youth group was 300 kids back in the day. Though talking to people who were part of the ministry at that time, they say it was more like 200 kids. Most of the church leadership understands that it was a different era back then, as ministry is different now. It is sometimes difficult to do ministry at a church where I mostly assume, based on word of mouth, that the majority of people think that the ministry I'm helping to lead is subpar. Me and the leaders strive to do everything with excellence. I love the recent quote from Matt on the show 249, where he said, "Your faithfulness is so much more important than anyone else's criticism." Nicely done.
Oh, Matt.
Put that on a
Wow.
T-shirt.
Yeah. Now that
I'm
you've
gonna make that part
pismoed
of my
us, are you
game.
still going
Seriously?
to get on it?
Yes, that's wow.
Of course.
Now we got to pay for the calendar.
Oh.
My question is, how do we convince church members
you,
that
half price.
that we have a quality, healthy ministry, which me, the youth leaders, and church leadership agree upon, and we don't have as many kids attending? How do we get church members to stop comparing our ministries to other ministries? I'm reminded by other youth pastors' friends that we're supposed to compare.
We're not supposed to compare.
I am reminded by other youth pastors' friends that we aren't supposed to compare ministries with each other, but it's hard when it seems that our ministry is constantly being compared, and that is the primary litmus test to see if a ministry is effective. More kids equals healthy. Thanks in advance for the terrific discussion that will ensue after reading this question.
Wow.
Wow.
There
Thank
go.
you for
No
your
pressure.
confidence, yeah.
I love it.
Good, you know,
It's
the
just
reality of church life is that people do make decisions based on attendance,
Yeah.
and I have said this for 20 years. This goes back to even before PDYM, when I used to teach the elements of a healthy youth ministry, that we have got to figure out ways to show health and success beyond just numbers of kids attending. So, for example, last year I didn't have a leadership process to develop my volunteers. This year I do. Okay. Last year we had no strategy to engage with parents. This year we do. Now, both of those have no numerical value attached to them, but we've got to constantly look for ways that our ministry is showing signs of health that may not be reflective in our numbers. Yeah. But we also need to understand that a lot of times the people that make decisions for our church, elders, deacons, etc., are business people who live in the secular world where everything is ROI, return on investments. They're looking at numbers, they're looking at data, that, more means better. So they bring that in some way secular mentality into a sacred place and say, okay, why isn't it growing? And we need to fight that a little bit.
Businesses are still sacred. It's all sacred.
It is sacred,
Yeah.
man. Everything's sacred. So anyway, that's just, I think everybody listening, you've got to look beyond just what attendance has on, Sunday morning or Wednesday night and say, what are other signs of health that if asked, I could point to?
Yeah. Well, I would say as a victim of numbers and comparison, I have even had my youth ministry compared to not the era of other youth workers, but to my
Should have
own
been
numbers.
compared to ours.
I would pale in comparison to you guys, but I've had it compared to my own numbers.
Back when we didn't have a building, remember?
When you had to fight to do
we
youth
had to
ministry.
set
A couple
up.
months ago, I was in 404. I shed a tear in there too. I'm just a
Old
crying
portable
fool.
building from student.
Yeah.
Okay, so I even had like my numbers compared to my numbers, and that's frustrating too, to know the ebb and flow and the the current of youth ministry, to realize the factors of why those numbers are different now. And I can explain them away, try not to be defensive, but I can definitely go, well, we didn't have any regional campuses or video venues, and now we're spreading people out. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but having your own numbers used against you is really brutal, much less the previous person. That hurts too. All that to say, one of the ways to show health would be to tell some stories. So it's not, for numbers people, stories don't really matter a whole lot. So I understand that. But if you have stories of life change, stories of turnaround, stories of major spiritual growth, I mean, I think stories have a way of saying we're healthy. They're not as powerful to numbers people, I get that, but they still send a huge message.
Yeah. So, my joke on this is when people say, how's your family? I don't say 5. Right. So I have to be able to describe the health of my family without saying a number.
And if you could say things
But
like, man,
if
we
we're
had a couple
supposed to have
baptisms
5
last
and
week.
you had 3, I mean,
Yeah, if the expectations are set, but typically
that'd be
youth
a nice way to
workers
say 2 passed away. I mean, that would be no good.
typically youth workers are not hired with here are your numeric expectations.
Right. I mean, the last church that I was at that I got canned from. I mean, I stepped into one. It was clear. I knew from the beginning. I stepped into it knowing the weekend needed to grow. I mean, they had 120 kids at an 8,000 person church. So I don't know what the right percentage is.
But there was a magic number, right?
Well, one, they never defined it, but I don't know what it is across America. I imagine it's different, but that is too low. I mean, that was too low for that church. And so we worked on that, and I mean, I felt constant pressure. And you can always make a reason for why more people are coming or why less people are coming. There's always another thing that you cannot substantiate.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you're the main speaker and then you don't, and the ministry's growing, and then you don't speak for 8 weeks and the ministry shrinks, you could say, oh, okay, well, it probably was because of this. But that's a major thing, and you could point to that. I think it's more helpful and beneficial, to do what you guys said, to tell stories, to have goals and projects, and constantly be building and tweaking a different part of the ministry. I think there's also, you expand you have more numbers. I think you can talk about first-time commitments and recommitments, and we would do spiritual disciplines, and we would track about how many times a kid would pick something up. And so, you know what? This year we had 10 people pick up memory verses. Last year we had 30. And when I say pick up, we mean we didn't hand it to them as they walked out the door. They chose to pick it up.
Right,
so you're comparing apples to apples. We had 15 people choose. Now we had 30 people choose. So I think there are more things that you can count. And still you look at that, not necessarily so it's like, oh, I know why this is here. But you look at it as indicators that go, oh, maybe this is something I need to work on. I've added 2 volunteers this year. Well, maybe make it a goal to add 4 volunteers next year. And if you don't, you're not worthless. I mean, if you tried as hard as you could, then could you try harder or try different? If not, okay, go. I don't think the numbers I mean, that's one thing too, is the numbers thing, like I like it, and I like it because when there's a history and you look at it, it's tough when the numbers becomes a lever in a conversation. And it's like,
A lever?
A little leverage.
It's French for lever.
Yeah, it's French, exactly.
We want you to lever.
We want you to
because you didn't get to
lever.
200.
Exactly.
Sorry, you got leaved.
Can I just
But
throw in
that's
one more
tough.
thing? When our student ministry has had incredible numbers, like the biggest ever, people are going
They weren't
nuts.
throwing money at your feet.
They weren't throwing money at my feet, but they weren't ever like, you've got enough students now. You've done it. We've got it.
Yeah.
They always wanted one more. They always wanted bigger, always wanted better. And so also just know that no matter what that number is, you're never going to arrive. You're never going to hit this magical,
You don't have to
satisfied.
look at that as a bad thing, though.
No, I agree. I'm not. I'm just saying go.
Because you don't want to be satisfied.
Yeah, we
sure.
always want to reach more kids.
Yeah,
for
Absolutely.
sure.
Stay hungry.
Yeah.
That Apple
You know
guy
what?
said.
You know what you guys teach, and I hear you talk about it a lot when you've developed your philosophy and you know what you want to do as a leader. Continue to cast that vision. So as a leader, it sounds like he and his other pastors or church staff are all hearing the same thing from whoever was witness in the 80s, which those people are probably going to die pretty soon. So don't
Don't
you're gonna
worry,
be
they're
rid of
hanging
them
on by a
pretty soon.
thread.
The 80s was a long time ago. And so but how is the staff representing the church, and how is it? I just hear you guys talk a lot about when you train your people to know the 5 purposes, that this is what we're trying to do. Are they teaching their church health has many different facets to it, and
balanced.
right now numbers might not be what they are, but again, then all the stuff you guys talked about in different healthy ways. But are the leaders thinking, oh no, we don't have numbers, and they're making it sound bad?
Yeah.
You know.
That's good. That's a good perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to do one more question.
Okay.
It's not an easy one. Hey, DYM, this is from James Martin. I enjoy the show, appreciate what you do for the youth ministry leaders. Before I ask my question, here's some context. One of the students in my youth ministry is homosexual. He isn't a believer, but he's been around the church for a year. I have him serving in the tech booth on Sunday nights. He likes to serve and is very consistent. I'm not so sure he's curious about the gospel, though. About 6 months ago, he allowed me to follow him on Instagram, and I found out that he was gay. My friendship with him didn't change, and I continued to invest in him, went to his high school graduation, etc. My question is this. One of the female adult youth leaders was Snapchatting him, and he sent her a picture of him kissing another guy. My leader doesn't know what to do. I told her, don't worry about replying. How would you handle this situation?
Well,
I wouldn't want my volunteers
Snapchat.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the first thing I came up with. Also.
Yeah, that's. But
A
I mean,
female
to
leader
me,
Snapchatting a male.
Yeah, I
student.
mean, I
don't
only
care if
have a
he's
negative
gay or not.
connotation in my head for Snapchat, and so maybe there is a positiveness to it. I mean,
Yeah, Cassie. I
She-
mean,
they-
our
she-
youngest kid is totally
they
on
Snapchat all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is like what I would do, or here's exactly what I'd say to the leader. I would say to the leader, hey, now how do you expect me to respond to that? I would use that as a dialogue, and are you trying to? Chances are, what the kid is trying to do is, are you still? I mean, as a person
Sure.
who likes to challenge, it's a challenge to say, hey, are you still going to accept me for who I am? So it's an awesome opportunity. The more you are
Is that why
offended,
you're heavy? Because I do.
what's that?
Is that why you're heavy?
For what?
Because
I'm
I
now
do
confused.
accept you.
Oh, you do. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm challenging you by
He's
that.
just developing your character.
Totally accept you. You didn't have to move.
They really like fat people up on the Central Coast.
Small
Hey, if
town,
we
Central
have any
Coast.
Central Coast people on the pod that listen to the podcast, we need to hang out though. No, but here's I was about to turn the corner a little bit, believe it or not, and say here's the deal: is that so the kid sends this, obviously making a statement, obviously doing something that is
Yeah.
crazy.
He thinks that the church lady won't like.
Yeah,
Right.
or
Little
or
sensational,
seeing
little
what's
disruptive,
going
yeah.
on. I mean, it's an opportunity to you don't have to jump in and say, oh, that's wrong, or oh, I'm offended. And the reality is this: is that the more you get offended, the less you'll have influence. If they're not offending you. They're not. It's not anything against. They're not harming you or your family. I mean, yeah, you don't support that behavior. There's lots of behavior I don't support, but you don't have to be offended and fly off the handle. And so I think it's a great opportunity to say, hey, now how are you expecting me? Why did you send that to me? Were you thinking that would make me upset? Were you thinking, I mean, I'd leave it open-ended probably, but I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's great that a person was revealing that much,
Yeah.
risking that much.
What do you guys think?
It's good. I mean, I think it would open up a bunch of questions about what is the church's policy on someone. Is their orientation a factor in them volunteering in your ministry, serving in your ministry? I think a lot of churches would grow concerned by that, going, what type of example in leadership do we have for our students, etc. So I would make sure that you have permission or the right or whatever that is to have them in a leadership position. I wouldn't question it. I just feel like this is a good time to bring it up since it's a more public moment that he's
But
shared.
tech booth isn't a leadership
No,
position.
this is
Oh,
not a
okay.
personal. I'm just saying, in a lot of churches, even that could be a big
Okay.
situation that they'd have to deal with.
Right.
So I would say, as long as
Well, if they're not dealing with it now in 2014, they need to
better
be
be.
dealing
Yeah.
with it.
But if they're being more like public with, I didn't even know he was dealing with homosexuality or a homosexual, whatever. To now Snapchatting people about it, I think it would be a great time to bring up that conversation with your leadership and with him or her in any of these contexts. Absolutely. It's a conversation starter at the very least.
Well, he makes a statement and says he likes to serve and he's consistent. I'm not so sure he's curious about the gospel, though. I bet she's a lot more curious than you think he is.
and more than he lets off. Of
yeah, and
course.
that,
Yeah.
that you're showing him love and Jesus.
I
And
love that. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm citing, you're right, unless the kid's got zero friends, and this is
But
the
even
only
if he
place.
doesn't have friends, he's
And this
going
is the
somewhere
only
where
place.
somebody's being Jesus, but he doesn't know it maybe. And
Right.
I don't care what his sexuality is, no matter what, he needs to be shown Jesus if he's got no friends. And that
Absolutely.
is the motivation
place,
that this
yeah.
youth pastor sounds like he's coming off with.
Yeah. What a great youth
Absolutely.
pastor.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally.
Absolutely.
I'd go back to, I'm old school. Girls do ministry to girls and guys do ministry to guys. I'd go back there. that
That she shouldn't be Snapchatting
yeah.
with him. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's neither here. That's like a total aside. But I would go there, and then I would say, "You're doing a great job. Thanks for embracing that kid."
Yeah, I'm glad that
Yeah.
that's great to hear stories about that.
Totally.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right,
There you go.
Kathy. So great to have you 2 weeks in a row.
It is.
2 weeks in a
As
row,
someone who's
same
working on
outfit.
thanking people for volunteering, thank you so much for volunteering
send me a
today,
card
being
for
on the
being
show.
on
I
this
will. I'll
also?
send you a little thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe some flowers.
Thank you.
And overcompensate for me not thanking you for 3 years.
We'll
I
we'll
only
send you a
retired
copy.
6 months ago.
Oh, good.
We'll send you a
Right?
copy of
Yeah.
Next.
Just the guilt,
Growing a
the
Faith
guilt
That
man.
Lasts. From
Sorry, what?
you can take this.
Oh yeah, it's our gift to you from ym360.com.
It's what we need in our house. Another book.
Yep.
Where
And
do you
I'm
think
not
these
working
came
with
from?
students right now, so I really don't need that.
You're always working with students.
You're always welcome back.
All right, you
Back
guys.
to recruiting.
See you. Next time there'll be at
Exactly.
least one of us at this table.
Oh.
Next time. Well, Josh, you'll be here.
too
won't you?
long.
Next
be
time
here,
you're
babe.
going to be in Atlanta. Didn't you say that?
Live show.
Oh,
Live
So
show.
fun.
See you
with
then.
Skit guys. All right.